guys, Tea Time Tuesday again, and today's tea is called I Love Lemon with vitamin C herbal tea. It is by Bigelow Teas, and this is what it looks like. I love lemon. Trying to get the shine off from it so you can see it. Hopefully that works. Lemon tea. Oh my gosh. You know, my grandma used to drink lemon tea all the time. Lemon and honey. And in the winter time, she would add 1 tablespoon of Grandpa's Jack Daniels to it. Of course, she wouldn't let us kids have it, but you know. But anyway, it got me thinking about my grandparents and some of the stories about when I was a little kid. And my grandma used to tell me, she said, I always knew when you guys were here, because she said, I could hear you outside. She said, the minute you stepped out of that car and started up that driveway, you would start yelling, Grandma, you got a bicket! Grandma, you got a bicket! You don't know how many times I was told that. But, you know, I have memories of my grandparents. My grandmother, she passed away in it was probably about 1985, somewhere in there. And Grandpa, he passed away in the 90s. It was the early 90s. I remember going over to their house and I'd spend the night and they'd be sitting watching TV and I'd lay down on the floor in front of the TV. And I'd wake up the next morning and they'd put a pillow under me and a blanket over me. They would never move me and just let me sleep right there on the floor all night, which was kind of cool. But I loved going to their house. Grandma was so friendly and she would try to teach you things. Grandpa, he was kind of on the grumpy side, didn't like having people around. He didn't mind us being there, but he would prefer nobody be there. He was a pretty mean man, and he took advantage of that with us kids. But we learned to we just learned to take him with a grain of salt and go on. But I remember when I was little, Grandpa and Grandma lived on a farm out in the country, and we used to go out there all the time. And as they got a little older, I remember they sold the farm and moved into the city, and they bought a big old 2-story house, and over to the side it had an old barn. I mean, it was old. And they had a fence put all the way around the front. The main road ran right in front of their house, and you had to pull off and around like this in front of their house where the driveway was, and they had a fence put around it. And they still raised chickens, even in the middle of town. And I remember Grandma had a milk glass egg, and she said you put it in the chicken's nest and it would encourage them to lay eggs. Well, when we were younger, Grandpa told us that you would put them in the nest, and when the chickens set on them, the egg would pop like popcorn and make other eggs. And when the chickens would lay, he'd take us down and raise the chickens up and show us 3 or 4 extra eggs. And we were kids. We didn't know where eggs were coming from. We thought the chickens setting on them caused the eggs to pop and pop out more eggs. It was so hilarious. And I think about all that stuff, you know, as I got older. Like when I was really young and Grandpa and Grandma still lived out on the farm in the country, where their house sat on this side, there was a road in front and you had to turn to come into their driveway. Well, across the road there was a gate and it went into a pasture, and the pasture was kind of like on a hill like this. And you could sit on their front porch and look out over that pasture, and they owned that over there too. Well, years and years earlier, Grandpa had taken an old car that he had and he parked it up there on the top of that hill in that field, and it just sat there for many, many years. And my dad and my uncle was always after Grandpa about giving them that car. And I remember one summer, Grandpa told him, he said, I'll tell you what, boys, he said, if you can get that car started, you can have it. Now, remind you, it didn't matter if the battery was dead on this car or not. It was a manual transmission, and everybody knows if the car's any good at all, if you push a manual car, you can pop the clutch and it'll start right up, whether the battery's good or not. Well, Grandpa, he was just smiling and giggling, and so my mom and my dad, my uncle and his wife all headed over to it, and us kids stayed there on the porch with Grandpa and Grandma. And Grandma kept looking at Grandpa saying, "What are you up to?" And he'd just look at her, would never say anything. So we see them up there, and they open all the car doors, and Dad gets in the car, and they start pushing it down the hill, and all of a sudden, as they're going down the hill, Dad jumps out, and all of them just scatter, start running all directions. And Grandpa is falling over, laughing his guts out. And of course, we're little kids, we had no idea what's even going on, so we're laughing because Grandpa's laughing. We had no idea what we were even laughing at. What Grandpa didn't tell them is a bunch of yellow jackets had built a nest in the hood of that car, in the motor. Well, see, when they started rolling that and they popped that clutch, the fan starts turning, it disturbed that whole nest, and all those yellow jackets come out right after every one of them. Well, while they were running everywhere, the car was still going over the hill. Grandpa was laying on the porch laughing, and Grandma was mad because she thought they were going to get hurt. I'll never forget it. It was so hilarious. So hilarious. Grandmother on my mom's side passed away in '85. 1 month after she passed, my grandmother on my dad's side passed away. And let me tell you, I miss them like crazy. She was more like a mother to me than my mother. I think everybody tells me, see, my mom and dad growing up, my mom's mom and dad grew gardens. My dad's mom and dad grew gardens. They all had gardens to help feed their children. There were 7 kids in my family. My mom and dad never, ever grew a garden. Ever. Never. And I never could figure out why. Everybody tells me that I got my love for gardening and my love for plants and stuff from my grandmother on my mom's side. And my grandmother on my mom's side used to tell me, she'd say, "Boy, you could take a stick and stick it in the ground and make it grow." And they had a little dog, I can't remember what it was, and its name was Sandy. And I remember almost my whole life them having that dog, and boy, it just about killed them whenever that dog passed away. And my grandmother had got a goldfish. This goldfish grew up huge. They said it was one of the biggest goldfish they ever seen. It was one of those that had the big round belly and the big eyes. And that goldfish, see her walking up to that tank, it'd come up to the time, she'd pet it and feed it. That thing lived for years, but they said that was the biggest one of those that they had ever seen. That goldfish had got huge. Well, it never died. Eventually, my grandpa and grandma, when they decided that they couldn't take care of it anymore, they took it out to the local pond where other fish and stuff was, goldfish and stuff, and they let it go in there. And, you know, they did what they could to save it, because that was the biggest, it was a beautiful fish. But anyway, that's going to be my little chat for Tea Tuesday. And you should really try. This is really good tea. Of course, I say that about every one of them, but at the time I'm drinking them, they really are. They're really good. And this is, I love lemon. That's the name of the tea. And it really is good. It's Bigelow. I was going to show a little bit of the craft room today, but I've got to get some lighting done in there because it's so dark in there. And right now it's so hot in there, I can't stand it in there very long. After putting that desk up and getting it set up, I realized that room isn't as big as I thought it was going to be. But I will work around it. But I pulled out a stack of stickers, different kind of stickers, and different card making paper. And I'm going to make a video of that, of the different cards and stuff like that. And you know, I have had so much support for this craft room from Hillary Frey and Rebecca Novak and Sunny. They've just been amazing with helping me get everything together to get this room going. And Rebecca made sure I had the Tim Holt stamping platform, which she sent to me as a gift. I could have never afforded that. And Miss Hillary just sent me box after box of crafting stuff that would have took me years to build up to even get started with. And and Sonny, he bought me a laminating machine, and so, they have a lot of faith in me, and I'm glad about that. And I'm going to do my best. I'm going to work my hardest to get it going. And, I may not do so well that I'm going to get in with all these high, crafty YouTube channels that's on there that these ladies been doing for years, or, I'm probably never going to be good enough to get with all these other channels and be a part of their thing, and I'm okay with that. I don't care. I'm just going to do my thing, because my channel is still not going to become all about crafting. I'm still going to be gardening. I'm still going to be crafting. I'm still going to be cooking and just talking. My channel is still and always is going to be about different things, because we all like different things, and I want to attract all crowds. And my channel's growing really good right now, I have to say. I appreciate each and every one of you, even though sometimes I feel like, as many subscribers as I got and views that I get just really doesn't match up. But, I'm not going to complain about it, because I appreciate the ones that do come and look and view. And then I've got those that are religious viewers, and I really appreciate them. I really do. And I try to visit everybody's channel that I'm subscribed to. And there's some just silly channels, so, I always wait for a video for their channel to come out before I even go visit them. But most of the channels that I consider really good friends, I try to go watch every video that they put out. Like Nina and Susie and Nona Grace and Life with Patty and all of them. I try to watch their videos religiously, because I appreciate them being my friends. And if Hillary and Rebecca, all of them, put out videos, I'd be watching every one of them too. Anyway, I better quit talking, because you know how I am. I can go on and on forever. So, happy Tea Tuesday. Enjoy a good hearty cup of tea. And you guys have a good day.